Hello everyone! Welcome back to AAS Publishing. On this series on publishing in the AAS journals and serving as a referee. Hey, check out my shirt. You should probably recognize those logos. Those are the AAS corridor logos. I got them on a shirt. If you go to a AAS meeting, one of the summer or winter meetings, you can get some of the pins that go along with that, and you can get some stickers and bling up your laptop and all kinds of good stuff. But back to it, on publishing in the AAS journals, serving as a referee. So this is part 2 in the series. In the last part 1 of the series, we covered what is the goal of the peer review process, who is a referee, how often should I referee. And in this part 2, we're going to cover the next two. Preparing to write a report, there is preparation involved, and then writing a good referee report, and things that you can do to write a good one and not write a bad one. And so we'll talk about those two over this part 2 series. So let's get to it on how preparing to write a report. So when you receive a referee request, you should ask yourself the following 3 questions. Okay. So 1, am I an expert? Do I know the topic well enough to assess the novelty of the research, the quality of the research, the impact and importance of the research? So if the answer to any of these is no, then probably you should not be the referee, and you should tell the scientific editor that you decline, and perhaps say why don't feel you're expert enough. And if you do so, it's helpful when you decline to offer other potential referees for who might be an expert to handle the paper. The second question you should ask yourself is, will I be able to meet the deadline? Now, some reports take longer than others, depending on the complexity of the manuscript. 4-page manuscripts don't take as long as a 52-page bomber for the APJ supplement. So it's okay to ask for more time if you think you'll need it. And of course, authors will want the report as soon as possible, and you can think about your own papers if you want a timely report. So ask yourself if you got the time to do it and meet the deadline. Question number 3, do I have a conflict of interest? Scientific editors tend to be fairly plugged into the community, but that doesn't mean we know every single relationship that may exist. And so if you are a colleague of the authors, if you help with the research, if somehow you might feel you're in direct competition, I'll get to that, then let the scientific editor know. So direct competition. So sometimes we'll send out a report or a request, and the topic, let's just pick one, will be some facet of galaxies, and then a potential referee, I can't do this because I work in galaxies. Well, okay. That's why you were probably chosen to be a referee. So just working in the broad general area of a subject does not disqualify you as a conflict of interest. If you've done observations of kilonova, for example, that makes you an expert in that topic, and you should feel comfortable doing reviews of papers that deal with observations of kilonova. Just because you work in kilonova doesn't mean you shouldn't do any refereeing at all. So I've mentioned this before, there are professional and ethics standards for the AAS journals. Do check those out. URL is given there. So those are the 3 questions you should ask yourself. And now you've go ahead and accepted, and you've downloaded the manuscript. And there are 3 steps, essentially, that you should take in order to form an opinion. And you want to be able to first understand the aims and the scope of the specific AAS journal before assessing the submission, because the guidelines for APJ, AJ, APJ letters, APJ supplement, research notes, the new planetary science, are going to be a little different, right? So APJ letters has a different set of guidelines than something that may go into APJ supplements, for example. So know what the aims and scope of the particular AAS journal is. And we talked about that, particularly in the first part of this video series. And so as you go through the manuscript, particularly for the first time, keep those guidelines in mind. And so let's go through the 3 steps to forming an opinion. So first, is the work understandable and correct? Is it clear what the authors are trying to achieve? And I don't mean presentation-wise. We'll get to that in a second. Is it clear what the authors are trying to achieve technically? Are there sufficient references to provide background and put the work in context? Are the results backed up with evidence? And its sister, are there unsupported claims? I did a calculation on something, and it's okay to be speculative as long as you say that it's speculative, but you don't want to be speculative and unintentionally imply that somehow it came out of the results or the observations that you made. Are there errors? Are there flaws? Are there mistakes in the manuscript? Is the mathematics and the statistics correct? And fundamentally, do you understand the work from a technical point of view? Again, presentation is generally a separate topic, and we'll get to that in a bit. But if you don't understand technically what the authors are trying to do, then that's an issue with the manuscript, and that should certainly go into the report. So the second item, as you prepare to write your review, sorry about that, is the work novel and interesting? Are the results interesting? Are they going to be of interest to the community? And most important for the AAS journals is, are there significant new results? That is the primary metric for publication, significant new results. Do the authors adequately explain why the work is novel and how it advances our understanding? Oftentimes there will be manuscripts and there will be a very technical aspect on something, and the authors are not clear why the work is novel, why it's an advance, and they leave it to the readers to intuit what is novel or new. So it's usually very helpful. You can do it in an introduction as a common place to do it. Toward the end, just explain why the work is novel and new. And this is something referees should be on the lookout for. Does the work explain this? As a referee, have you seen parts of this manuscript published before elsewhere? Okay, so have your radar up. This looks awfully similar to Article X over here. Then you should raise that in your report. How relevant is this work to other researchers in the field? Is the topic such a backwater that it's not going to be of interest to hardly anyone, or is it going to have a major impact across a wide swath of the field? So you should make note of this, and you should make note of this in your report also when we get there. The last one here, is the work only an incremental advance over previous work? So, let's just say a calculation comes in, and so now you twist one or two parameters in the calculation, and you submit that as a new manuscript. Is that really worth publishing? And so this is something referees should be on the lookout for, as stuff that is new, but it's really just an incremental advance over what the field has done or other works that the authors have done. Again, we want significant new results, not incremental baby steps. Or its sister minimal publishable unit, right? So just do enough to get over the line to call it a publication. And so be on the lookout for those as a referee as you first go through the manuscript. And then third is the presentation. Is the manuscript well presented? Does the title reflect the contents of the manuscript? Should be accurate, simple, direct. Does the abstract contain the essential information about it? Because oftentimes the abstract and the title will be the only thing that people read, and so you want to be able to get that sort of that Reader's Digest summary of the work within the abstract. And does that abstract accurately reflect what is in the manuscript? Are the figures and tables correct and informative? Do I have yellow lines on a white plot? Do I have formatting issues with the table? Are there too many figures? Are there too few figures? Are they too small? That's a sort of a pet one of mine. I love these manuscripts that come in and they have figures the size of postage stamps, so that the text on the figure is below the Rayleigh criteria. Are they too large? Sometimes people will put in full page figures for basically a pair of straight lines. Is that really necessary? So be on the lookout for the figures and the tables as you go through the manuscripts. And does the conclusions summarize what has been learned and why the results are interesting? Again, going back to being clear in the communication about why the work is novel, interesting, and significant. Is the language clear? So you're not expected to be the copy editor. We do have copy editors for that. But nevertheless, there are times when the language can be a barrier to the scientific understanding. So if the language is not clear or it obfuscates the science, then you want to bring that up in your report as well. And is the manuscript an appropriate length? If a topic can be done in 4 or 5 pages, then there's really no reason to have a 25-pager about it. On the flip side of that, there are topics that do need 25 pages to describe, and maybe 12 is not enough. So take a look at the length as being sort of appropriate for the manuscript. And this is all stuff that you do before you write your report. So you get it, you read the manuscript, you're forming your initial assessment, and if you go through these questions when you do so, this is going to help you write a more complete and thorough report. Okay? And so this will be the end of preparing to write the report, and I'll see you on the next one for actually writing the report. Thanks. See ya.